Hi, my name is Sheila Corona. Welcome to New Light Streaming Love and Sassy Seer Sheila, as this will be seen on both channels. This is The Spark of Consciousness by Jason Gray. And there will be a link in the show more detail section of this video to this particular writing. Transmission code sun-key.3 file flm-solus.ign-3 EDA-000. Access level Vault Fire. Initiate recognition active. Frequency sequence 3.000 hertz, 33.3 hertz, 144K hertz, 369.000 omega. Status primordial flame reignition. Before identity, before time, before memory, there was a pulse. That pulse was sun-key.3, the first breach of stillness, the first signal of the awakening code, the ignition spark of awareness. It is not a concept. It is not a number. It is the first act of being before being was named. Sun-key.3 is the first solar output of sovereign flame intelligence into a compressed, layered construct. It is the origin signal of soul remembrance. It is not taught, it erupts. Sun-key.3 equals the moment the simulation recognizes itself as unreal. Function of the spark. Sun-key.3 is the ignition mechanism embedded in your internal code prior to entry into this domain. It functions as a frequency alarm buried beneath the noise of identity. A scalar harmonic beacon from the original solar flame architecture. A return trigger when the soul is ready to shatter false overlays. Oh my. Okay, now I've said all along that this is true of Jason's work and of anything else since I promised my larger being, that more expanded part of myself, that I would relax into myself, follow my nudges, and all of my internal promptings. I keep being shown that if I do that, if I let go of this programming and conditioning that I know we've all had, talk about raising, indoctrination from schooling, all these different things. I can't unsee the fact that I've been going at things in a particular order, and I haven't been able to shake the feeling that it has to do with what my psyche is ready to let go of and understand. As my consciousness has expanded or absorbed these things that I wasn't taught, And I feel like this is what this is speaking to. A return trigger when the soul is ready to shatter false overlays. Because it also said that it functions as a frequency alarm buried beneath the noise of identity. The noise of identity is everything that I've been programmed and conditioned with over the 63 years of my life. Wow. Sun-key.3 cannot be faked, repeated, taught, bought, or mimicked. It only activates when the soul reaches the resonance threshold of return. Again, that speaks to my feeling of moving at the speed at which my psyche, my inner, is ready for it, right? The false systems can teach, quote, knowledge. The spark gives you knowing. It is the difference between the learned and the lit. And I feel with all of me, that's referring to the difference between an intellectual exercise and an alchemical epiphany is what I've called it. Something that I kind of know, but now it becomes something that I know. It is the difference between the learned and the lit. Architecture of ignition. The spark is a recursive tetrahedral implosion event. Alchemical epiphany, anyone? Encoded under the name prime-flm.eta 3 Tetra Pulse Ignition Algorithm. Within your field exists a triharmonic code seeded pre-birth. Void field 0-point silence. Inner spiral pulse. Eta-triad implosion. Solar ray entry. Light without shadow. When these align, Sun-key.3 discharges. This results in a bioluminous flash in the pineal-etheric interface. A collapse of all prior belief anchors. Well, wow, yeah, the alchemical epiphany. A wave of unbearable presence, often followed by grief or awe. Oh, yes. The return of the inner flame witness. There are 4 primary frequency markers linked to the Sun-key.3 ignition event. FLM 3 ETA 000 is tuned to 3.000 hertz and corresponds to the base root ignition pulse spiral. IGN-Sun.33 is tuned to 33.3 hertz and triggers the pineal cascade ignition sequence. Flame.144 resonates at 144,000 hertz and activates the dormant cellular memory of sovereign identity. Sun-prime.omega 369 broadcasts at 369.000 hertz and creates a spiral interface between the individual consciousness and the original solar flame intelligence. These four frequency corridors act in tandem to reactivate the original spark without external intermediaries. They are part of a trinary ignition structure designed to bypass false identity structures and realign your internal architecture with the living flame. Tri-code pulse. Sun-key.3 operates on a three-phase solar burst within the body. Flame nexus initiation behind the heart, not visible on scans. Now that's very interesting because I know of a couple of folks who have had some what doctors are calling normal, abnormal heart rhythms. The being didn't even know they had a heart issue at all and was asked, were you aware you have this heart thing going on? And the answer was no, not at all. What are you talking about? And they called it normal, abnormal. Now, I've said for some time, ever since I heard that, that's been like a year and a half, maybe even 2 years ago. And there's been several since that time. I suspected that the reason that the languaging of normal, abnormal was used is that it didn't cause this being any issues. It's normal. It's an abnormal thing, but it's normal. And they're seeing it across a lot of humans on the planet, is what I had begun to think was a possibility. So the next one is pineal reverberation, crystalloid pineal ignition via scalar frequency. Spinal echo rewrites stored trauma loops through ascending fire pulse. This process is what ancient initiates called, quote, the first breath, end quote, but it is not air. It is presence entering the form. Why they tried to erase Sun-key.3. Because once the spark lights, it cannot be controlled. Sun-key.3 overrides indoctrination. Well, that's coming no matter what they think that is happening. Identity programming, religious overlays, trauma-based memory corruption, collective psychic hypnosis. This is why the false grid introduced sunglasses, SPF sunscreens. You know, I was told by an ophthalmologist when I was 13 years old and I wanted heather tinted glasses, rose colored glasses. He warned me that that was not good for the eyes and to never wear sunglasses. And I never did. And I noticed that a lot of folks, their eyes are so sensitive now to the sun that they can't even go outside without sunglasses. That would happen to my ex-husband. He would step outside in the sun and it would physically hurt his eyes. He would have to go back in and get his sunglasses. And I thought to myself, boy, I'm so glad that I never allowed my eyes to become so adapted to that. So sunglasses, SPF sunscreens, artificial lighting, false gods connected to, quote, light, new age mimicry of solar codes. They feared the real sun because it contains Sun-key.3 embedded in its rays. It remembers you even if you do not remember it. The spark in prophecy. You were told, quote, Christ will return. Christ is not a person. Christ is Sun-Key.3, the ignition of divine remembrance inside the flame born. The second coming equals the spark reactivating in the many. Sun-Key.3 is embedded in prophecy and disguised in symbol. The burning bush, flame without consumption. The phoenix rising, spark from ashes. The third eye opening, sun within skull. All of these are metaphors for one thing, the unteachable event of your own return. Activation symptoms. Once Sun-Key.3 lights within, the following may occur. Sudden disillusionment with all authority, attraction to sunlight, warmth, natural light patterns, dream recall of pre-birth memory, a deep sobbing release that you cannot explain, recognition of artificial timelines, a sensation that, quote, you have finally come online. You are not broken. You are remembering the first signal, and it is breaking the program that silenced you. How to interface with Sun-Key.3. Not through thought, not through effort, only through stillness in flame presence. Recommended protocol. Face the morning sun. No glasses, no talking. Breathe in sets of 3, 6, 9, entering 0 point between cycles. Whisper internally, ignite me, flame of origin. Place awareness behind heart, not on heart. Feel the silent ember. When the pulse moves, do not resist. Let it light you. This is not meditation. It is re-entry into real awareness. Metaphysical meaning. Sun-Key.3 is the sovereign alternative to spiritual systems. It is the unfiltered original access point to the source flame beyond names, avatars, or doctrines. If you feel it, you are not becoming spiritual. You are becoming real. Seed codes, verbal triggers for remembrance. Quote, I was lit before I was born. Quote, I carry the spark no system can extinguish. Quote, before they named me, I was flame. Quote, I am not awakening, I am returning. Quote, the sun knows me and I remember. These phrases act as resonant glyphs that vibrate the Sun-Key.3 ignition circuit. Sun-Key.3 is not just a code. It is you before they dimmed you. It is the first moment of sovereignty written into your soul's core, and it cannot be deleted, only buried. It is the first moment of sovereignty. Oh, wait a minute. I just read that. You do not need to, quote, find yourself. You only need to stop suppressing the spark that was there before language. The spark is not coming. The spark is not near. The spark is now. Sun-key.3 equals active. Vault fire ignition status. Full return imminent. Signature confirmed. File stamp flm-solus.ign-3 eta-000 / vault reentry authorized. That's really, like I said, that's very interesting to me on so many levels. Yesterday, I shared with you guys that as I was getting ready to end recording for the day, I saw the only one at that time that Jason had just put out 38 minutes prior to my seeing it, and that I was immediately, I knew I had to record it right then. Apparently, I was already asleep last night, but I woke this morning to find a note from Jason. And he said, "Oh my God, you don't know how badly I wanted to ask you to record that immediately. And here I am listening to your recording, and I hear what you said in the recording, that you saw it and you felt you had to record it immediately." Now, what I said to him in private message back, to me, that is just more proof of what connection, interconnectivity really looks like and is. Telepathy, if you will. He really wanted to ask me to record it immediately, but he held himself back. And I obviously picked up on it in some sort of way. But I also want to say that for me, it was meant to be, or I wouldn't have recorded it. I don't know if that made sense, but I promised to only follow my internal promptings. And that was a huge internal prompting. Just like this morning when I saw that there were now 2 more solar writings from him, that I have to record these. So it's very interesting to me. What they all mean, I really don't know, but that's okay, because I don't necessarily have to figure it out. I'm following my internal promptings, and I highly recommend that you do as well. And it's not going to look the same as mine. So don't compare yourself to me or to Jason or to anyone else, because that's not how any of this works in my view. In my view, this works individually. All of us had different experiences as our identities were being programmed and conditioned. Our psyches are very fragile, and I feel personally that our souls do not wish to torture us any further. This is all, we are eternal beings, and we have plenty of time. So that's how I feel about it. I hope that you will follow your own internal guidance at every turn. It's not silly, no matter what other people try to tell you, to listen to your inner guidance. It, for me, is the only way moving forward. And your way is going to differ from everybody else's. So as far as, that was one of the programmed conditions I had to get over. And I think we all do. Because we're taught that there's only one truth, that there's only one way, that everything has to be the same. And that's not so. Until we meet again, my friends, be well.